Hi, everyone. I'm Salim Ismail, and I'm really thrilled to have this conversation with Dr. Ian Fenwick of the Sasin School of Management. Dr. Fenwick, you've been implementing EXO. We went through a kind of a sprint about 6 years ago. We wanted to kind of check in and see how's it going and what results have you seen. So over to you.
Okay, so since that time, which I can only just remember now vaguely, we've made a lot of changes. Did the changes come directly from the ExO Sprint? I would say no, they did not, but the ExO Sprint helped to loosen everything up and set the stage for those changes. So since then, we basically redeveloped our entire senior management team. We've changed the job titles, we've changed the responsibilities, and I think we've gone a long way towards breaking down silos and getting people to really think. I want to say think out of the box, but it's such a hackneyed phrase. Think in a different way, in a way that enables us to compete better and see where we're going much, much better.
One of the conversations we have and one of the outcomes we've seen is that if you try anything disruptive in a legacy organization, the default answer is no. And when we run a sprint, we try and switch that to a yes. And is that some of the tinklings of what you've seen?
Yeah, absolutely. So Sasin was founded 43 years ago, and for the first something like 35 years, it was run by the founder of Sasin, who by the time he stepped down was, as you might imagine, quite an elderly gentleman, by which I mean even older than I am. We then had a couple of quite short tenure people come through. By the time I took over, the school was in need of some, what shall I say, fine tuning. We had to right the ship, and we had to find a new way to sail. And I think we did that. And I think it unlocked that legacy and made us see that we could change things, that change was possible. And actually now, and I think this is an accomplishment, some people might think the opposite, of 50% of the staff and 50% of the faculty were not with the institution when I arrived.
Well, I can't commend you enough for making a transformation because, we talk a lot about immune systems and we've studied immune systems quite a bit. And in our experience, academia and education has the second worst immune system ever. And so that's quite an accomplishment to turn something around in that way because it's so easy to bank on the legacy and what's been done before. Are there some specific measurables that you can point to that you've achieved over the last few years?
Well, I mean, in the last year, we've recorded the second highest enrollment that the school has ever received. The highest was actually in the Baht devaluation in 1997, when essentially fees in foreign schools doubled. And so an awful lot of students came home. So we've recorded the highest enrollment this century. We've just had an open house for next year's enrollment, and that is about 30% higher than we've ever received before. Now, I'm afraid we can't put all this down to the changes we've made.
Of course.
We've been helped by the environment. So as some countries deny visas to students, they stay home, and that benefits us in Bangkok, Thailand, right?
That's actually a great thing. In terms of have you changed what you teach in terms of how you teach business? Because that I think was one of the biggest shifts we've seen between 20th century and 21st century. The kind of EXO thinking, is any of that in the curriculum?
Absolutely. So, for example, we've moved strongly into action learning. So every master's student has to take at least one action learning course where they work with a group of students on a real life problem. And we do those in conjunction with US schools, and we do them in conjunction with Chinese schools. And so basically our students go there, their students come to us, and they work in a team, and they try to challenge the reality that's facing a real organization. And I think it's really valuable for the students to have to contrast what they learn in the classroom with what is needed in the workplace, what is needed in real life.
And for our viewers, how many students do you have at Sasin?
We're a very small school, so we bring in about 200 students a year, and about half of those are MBA, about half of them are EMBA. But now both the MBA and the EMBA come in different flavors. So we're seeing a big move towards part-time education. So for the MBA, it's straight part-time, evening MBA. For EMBA, we launched a new product. We call it Connect Plus, which is a blended learning degree. So it's all online, but to make sure people meet each other and connect, that's why it's called Connect Plus, we have 3 4-day residentials during the program. And that program is targeted very much at Southeast Asia, how to succeed in business in Southeast Asia.
And you know, this is going to be the next 10, 20 years is going to be the glory days, I think, for Southeast Asia, more so even than the 80s and 90s were, just because of the shift in global politics.
Absolutely, and that's what we believe. So our tagline, if you like, is global reputation for regional expertise. And we're putting everything into expertise about the region. And the region is a good kind of EXO word in that it's expandable. So region initially means Southeast Asia, but in the end, it will include parts of China and India also.
Wonderful. Would you consider doing another EXO Sprint?
We would consider it, but we have so many plates spinning now that it's getting difficult to sort of take our eye off those plates and look for new opportunities. Really, opportunities abound right now. The thing we're talking about at the moment is going to be a multilingual, multicultural MBA, using the reality of AI to do translation. So everyone will bring their mobile phone, and they'll bring their headphone, their earset or whatever. They'll join different rooms, kind of like we are now, according to what language they want to hear. Then we'll have one presenter who will present in whatever language, and it'll be automatically translated to all the others. We're testing out proof of concept on that right now.
That's absolutely wonderful. You can then localize it to all the different things. Do you, in terms of the variety, you know, one of the things we talk about a lot is making sure you're extremely flexible and adaptable in your organization structure for the world that is coming. Can you give an example or two of how Sasin has implemented that thinking into its organizational design?
Well, we actually have a whole vertical now, which is towards special projects, which is totally a portmanteau position. And that is run by one of our recent arrivals, an experienced business person that we recruited from Michelin, from a very senior position in Michelin. And that special projects covers all the new things that we do. They go in there first and they get incubated a bit, and then they get pushed out to wherever is the most suitable part of the organization.
That's fantastic. If you had to pick on one area that you think you could have done better in over the last 6 years, is there one, or have you been kind of all hands to the pump type of model?
So I think we could have done everything quicker.
Right.
We have a property in just on the mainland opposite Phuket Island that we have not really had a chance to develop properly. And I think we're now deciding we should lease that. One of the challenges is that real estate goes up in value so much that a solely educational use becomes very difficult to justify. We just can't make enough compared to what we could lease it for.
Well, I could imagine Beachfront University being a very attractive proposition right there.
It is and it isn't. So Beachfront University is very distracting.
Right. It is very distracting. There's a slew of California universities on the coast, that like Pepperdine and others, that at one level try and be very attractive, but on the other hand, it's very hard to create a learning environment where the kids focus.
And it's very hard to sell executive education courses because it becomes too much of a holiday, and the boss is going to say, "Oh, why you want to go there?" You know.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Any last comments about how the EXO model has impacted you, or any of the attributes? One obvious question would be how are you implementing AI into the curriculum as it starts to dominate more and more of the business world?
Right. So we just actually launched a new course to do exactly that, to look at the implications of AI for management. We've had an AI applications course, a couple of them for quite a while, but we thought it was a good time to give a big overview of AI. One of the problems we face is that some of the key decisions about AI, for example, the ethics, the whole control issue, do we really want a super AI? Those are very difficult issues for students to deal with.
Yeah.
Students come wanting to know how can I make my business better? How can I do better in my job? They are not really up for sitting down to consider the ethical implications of an all-knowing entity.
In our opinion, we think AI will become much more of a utility than the omniscience that some people are scared of. So we think of it as a giant uplifter, a bit like electricity, where it just enables lots and lots of things and lots of capabilities in new ways.
I totally agree with that, but that also is very hard to teach because if you're going to teach somebody how to use electricity, I'm not too sure where you start, right?
Well,
It
yeah,
becomes
this is
very,
a
very individual.
great point, and this is why we focus so much on the flexibility and adaptability of the organization. We're currently advising one of the biggest energy projects in the world, and on how to become an EXO and how to run their entire energy operation using AI. And it's quite a fascinating exercise walking through, taking folks that are used to the electrical utility world, and trying to bridge them into this totally new paradigm. Right. So it's very much. This is why Kevin calls it the decade of the EXO, because we think the transition will have to happen across the board, and we're starting to see that happen. But boy, it's slow going in some ways.
Everything's slow going.
Everything is slow going at one level. Um, Wonderful. Well, I'm thrilled to hear the progress you've been making. Congrats on all the recent success. And one thing we've seen is the immediate effects of EXO are less tangible, but it lays a subtle foundation
Yeah.
of cultural adaptation that is built in, and then people see really pretty amazing results later on down the line as the seeds bear fruit. So, of course, there's many other factors involved. So, huge congrats on the success that you've had.
Well, thank you. And I would say a substantial part we owe to ExO.